Hi everybody, hope that you have been well and God's grace has been sufficient for you in this season. I wanted to share from two chapters in the book of Proverbs, that is Proverbs chapter 16 and Proverbs chapter 18. So Proverbs chapter 16, it's a verse that we have all heard of, but I just decided to meditate upon it today. And it is, we make our plans, but it is God who has the final word. And especially as we are adulting, we make so many plans. We already have a plan. I feel like by the time you're in school, you're like, I'm going to go to school, I'll finish school, I'll get a job, then I'll get married, and then I'll have children, and then I'll bring them up, and everything's going to be perfect, and then I'm going to be a grandparent, like, those are the plans that we make. And then life just does not turn out how we want. You find yourself being a parent, maybe when you did not expect to be a parent. You find yourself married before you expected. You find that you have finished school and you do not have a job. You expected that you would finish school like this and you'd be interviewing and getting jobs, or you have gotten a job and you're expecting that, I'm going to get this job, I'll work so hard, in 3 years I'm going to be promoted, I'm going to be the manager or the CEO, and then another 5 years, and then you have this whole game plan of how your life is going to turn out. You're expecting I'll be married by 30 years old, I'll have finished having children by the time I'm maybe 35 or 40, and when I'm 40s or what, I'm gonna be traveling. We have all of these plans that we make, and when they do not happen how we want, I feel like your heart just keeps breaking a little. Your heart just, the book of Proverbs says that hope deferred makes the heart sick. And so you keep waiting in hope for, you've been interviewing for years, you're still not getting a job. You've been trusting God for a husband or a wife, they're still not coming along. And you just have all of these plans of how you expected your life to turn out, and you're on this timeline, and time is moving, and suddenly you're 30, and what you thought you'd have done at 30 years old, it is not what you expected. And so disappointment sets in because of what your expectations were. You start feeling disappointed in yourself, disappointed in your progress. Maybe you're 40 years old and you thought that at 40 I would really have my life together, and it's in absolute shambles. You have no idea what you're doing, and you are feeling defeated, and you are feeling discouraged. And this is what this verse led me to meditate upon, is what do we do when things don't go our way? And I kept asking myself that today over and over, because I also have things in my life that have not gone my way, and there'll be discouragement and disappointment. You're just like, oh man, like, I was so sure that this and this, or you engage in something and you're so sure that this is what is going to be the result, and then the result is absolutely different, and it is discouraging. We are human beings. And so I just kept meditating and asking God today, what do we do when things don't go our way? And the word just kept being trust. Is just trust God. And the book of Proverbs, as I continue to read it, confirmed this for me, because it said, there's a verse that said, that is Proverbs chapter 16 verse 3, commit your works to the Lord and your plans will succeed. And when you read it in the Amplified version, I love how they add this extra note: if you respond to his will and guidance. If you respond to his will and guidance. So that led me to ask myself, first of all, am I responding to his will and guidance, or am I doing just what I want to do and then asking God to catch up with me? Because that's what we do. It did not say start a plan and then commit it to Lord. It said before you have said, commit your works to the Lord. So this has to be the first step of the process, is that when you have a plan, let's say you have a business idea, or you're planning or hoping to get married, or you have a wedding coming up, or you have an interview coming up, or you want to apply for a certain position, commit that plan to the Lord, commit those works to the Lord, put him in it. But what we oftentimes do is, after things have backfired, after we have made our plans, after you've already gotten into the wrong relationship, after you have already started probably the wrong business, after you have applied for the wrong job, then we start asking God, what do I do now? So the process should be, first of all, let's start with him. Now, let's say you're already there, you have already started the plan, and it's already without God. God is well able to either make that situation still work for you, because God knows how to make a detour into the main tour. He knows how to make all things to work together for good. So if in case you have already found yourself in the wrong path, or you have already started something without involving God, it is still okay. God is well able to cause it to still work, Or if you commit yourself, like the Bible has told us, to his will and his guidance, God will guide you to the right direction. But we have to trust him, and we have to trust his guidance. You know, when we are grown-ups, I feel like the one thing that we really have is control. You want to be able to be in control of your life. And Christianity is the opposite. It requires you to have zero control of your life. In fact, the more you are not in control of your life, the better for the believer, because you are not in control and you're leaving God to control. You are leaving Jesus to be the one to control. Jesus did not want to go. He did not want to go to the cross. He said, if you would take this cup away from me, he would have been happy with that. But he went even unto the cross, not wanting, but but because that was God's will and guidance for his life. And I have a bit of a difficult word to share. And because God was asking me to share this, and sometimes it's difficult to hear. But what if you are wanting to have a child, and in this lifetime, God does not want you to be a mother, or God does not want you to be a father? You know, he might want you to be a mother or a father through adoption. He might want you to be a mother or a father through you having an orphanage. But you are, in your mind, you want to be a mother only through birthing your child biologically. I do not mean to be insensitive. God has blessed me with my own children, so I understand how this would be difficult to even digest. So forgive me if it's insensitive, just saying that what if that is the Lord's plan for your life, but it's not yours? What if God does not want you to have that business and he wants you to be employed? What if God does not want you to be employed, but he wants you to be in business? What if God never wants you to get married? What if it is not in the cards for you to be a wife? What if it is not in the cards for you to be a husband? It's not just what he wrote for you, but you are insisting on your own way. You are insisting on finding a man and you're so desperate for it. You're insisting on finding a wife and you're so desperate for it. And God is saying that it's not what I had in the cards for you. Are you willing to accept that that is the Lord's plan for your life? It is difficult. God put it in my spirit to say this to somebody. It is difficult so many times, a lot of times, to accept what God's will is for us, and to accept that maybe you want that thing and God does not want to give it to you. And more than that, to believe that it's actually what is best for you. Because if God tells you that in this lifetime, I will not bless you with a marriage, and in the same breath he tells you because that is what is best for you, you have to believe it. You have to believe that his plan for your life is more superior, and it is more bigger, and it is better than the plan that you have for your life. And we have to begin to just let go of what plans we had for our lives, and just surrender to, okay, God, if this is what you are wanting to do for me, if this is the direction that you're willing to take me in, I am willing to go with reckless abandon. I am willing to go, not because it's what I want to do. And that is the thing about obedience. I was listening to a certain person on Instagram. He's a preacher, and he was saying how sometimes your parents will tell you to wash the dishes and you don't want to wash the dishes, yet it's the right thing for you. And a lot of things that our parents used to ask us to do when we were kids, we used to think like, why are you making my life so miserable, right? Like, you want me to wash the dishes, you want me to mop, you want me to work hard in school, you want me to do these things. And we may not have understood it in the moment, but them, in their wisdom as parents, they knew that it was the right thing for us. And right now we are enjoying the fruits of that. So God, as our parent, he knows what is best for us, and how he gets it out of us may not be how we want it, and the path that he sets us upon may not be what is our plan, but we ultimately have to surrender to his will. And that is why we pray, God, not my will be done but yours. It's actually a very difficult prayer to pray, because sometimes you have your plans, there is just what you would prefer, and God is telling us that you want to go like this, but God is saying, actually, I created you when you were in your mother's womb. I appointed you and put it down on paper that this is the direction you're meant to go, not this one. And so to trust that God's plan are better than ours. And yes, he's not saying that we should not make our plans, because again, there's a Proverbs still chapter 16, it says, a man's mind plans his way as he journeys through life, but the Lord directs his step. So it is okay for a man to plan his way. It is okay for you to have plans and desires and goals. All of that is okay. The only thing is that you have to come with those plans to God and tell God that this is what I'm wanting to do. One of the things that I personally like to do is, before I make any major decision in life, I like to fast and I like to pray. For example, before I started doing Made in Kenya, I fasted and I prayed so that God would tell me, is this what I'm supposed to do or not? It's not a decision that I just did. It is something that I committed to the Lord. And God told me in so many different ways that, yes, this is the direction that I'm wanting you to go in. So it is important for us to make our plans. I made a plan in my mind that I want to start the Made in Kenya brand, but I committed it to God and God gave me the go ahead. And He has been directing and establishing my steps every step of the way, as for Proverbs 16:9. And that is what I'm also asking you to do today. There's also a verse that says, as we finish it, that we may throw the dice, but the Lord determines how they fall. So you may throw the dice, you may decide this, but it is God ultimately who is going to say whether it works or not. And isn't it so much better if you just trust the dice to Him, if you just trust that however they fall is for your best interest? So that is what I wanted to share in regards to that topic. Lastly, I wanted to share on the topic of correction, just briefly. From Proverbs chapter 18 verse 2, it says that fools have no interest in understanding. They only want to air their own opinions. Correction stings. It stings to be corrected. But if a person loves you, they will correct you, and you have to be willing to be corrected. You cannot always be right. It's very difficult to even deal with people who always think that they're right. It's difficult to have conversations with them. It's difficult to be around them, because if you do not accept correction, when I was reading Proverbs 15 verse 1 and 5, I believe there were 2 chapters that started with saying that you have to accept correction from your parents. We are grown-ups, and so we might feel that we know. But even with your age, even if you're a 50-year-old man, listen to your parents' advice. Listen to what your parents, what your elders have to tell you. It is a symbol, it is a sign of wisdom when you are able to listen to other people. When you correct yourself, correct with love. And when you're corrected, I pray that you are corrected with love. But it is important for you to be able to receive correction from wherever it comes, because God can send anybody. God can send even somebody that you do not like to come and correct you. And so you have to have a willing heart to receive correction from, and it is difficult. I'm not trying to say it's easy, because I feel like, for example, if you grew up never being corrected by your parents, it will be difficult for you to accept correction when you are grown up. In the same breath, if you are overcorrected as a child, you might despise correction when you're a grown up. So those traumas again also come into play. And also somebody may correct you and you may take it as an attack. You might feel like, are you correct? Are you trying to say that I'm not good enough? Are you trying to say I'm not intelligent enough? Are you trying to say that I'm doing something wrong? But human is to err. Is it error? Human is to error. So we will all make mistakes, and we need to be open to being told when we are not doing. I feel so many marriages would be fixed if people just accepted correction. If you accepted your husband correcting you, if you accepted your wife correcting you, and you didn't insist in your own way in the marriage that, I'm always right. And if you as a wife are open, my husband corrects me all the time, I correct him as well. Even our children correct us, because you might think that you're always right, and your child will come with a point and you're like, okay, you're right, like Toto, like you're right. So we need to be able to accept correction from all directions, not because it's easy, but because an intelligent person knows that correction is what makes you better. An intelligent person knows that there are people who might know something that they don't know. So we need to be open to being corrected, especially believers. We need to be open to be corrected, even by non-believers. A person who does not believe in God can tell you a point, yani, and you're like, whoo, God definitely inspired that message. So let's be open to correction. Proverbs chapter 18 verse 15, as I finish, says, intelligent people are always ready to learn. Their ears are open for knowledge. And it speaks of fools as people who are never want to be taught, never want to be corrected. So really, it's just a thing of, are you choosing to be a fool, or are you choosing to be an intelligent person? In as much as correction stings, correction just feels some type of way. I think it certainly feels some type of way for me, but I know that it is for my best interest. It is for my growth. It is to make me the best version of myself. And so therefore, let's welcome correction and let's commit our plans to the Lord. Be blessed.